There is a moment that arrives quietly in the lives of many people, a moment where they suddenly realize they can no longer escape themselves. It does not always happen with dramatic music or public collapse. Sometimes it happens alone in the middle of the night, when the silence becomes too loud to ignore. A person looks around and sees unpaid bills, broken promises, wasted years, abandoned goals, declining health, and opportunities that disappeared while they kept saying they would start tomorrow. That moment feels terrifying, because the human mind finally understands something it spent years avoiding. Time is running out. This is the hidden psychological power behind rock bottom. It removes the fantasy that life will wait forever. The average person believes motivation creates action, but often action is born from pressure. When people feel there is no choice left, they discover energy they never knew existed. They wake up earlier, think more clearly, and move with intensity because survival mode activates parts of the mind that comfort keeps asleep. Dr. Grandpa Henry used to describe this transformation as the collision between reality and illusion. The illusion says there is always another chance. Reality says every delayed decision carries a price. The illusion says fear should control your actions. Reality says fear grows larger every day you avoid what must be done. Most people think rock bottom destroys confidence, but in many cases, it destroys denial, and that is exactly why transformation becomes possible. A person trapped in denial keeps negotiating with procrastination. A person facing reality becomes dangerous in the best possible way because they stop waiting for perfect conditions. They finally understand that movement creates momentum. Yet there is another side to this story that many people never discuss. Some individuals escape rock bottom, rebuild their lives, regain stability, and then slowly return to procrastination once comfort returns. This is the suspense hidden inside human behavior. The same comfort that once created delay begins returning quietly through routine, convenience, and distraction. That is why some people rise after crisis, only to fall again years later. They forget the urgency that once saved them. They forget the fire that forced them to move. The human mind naturally seeks comfort, but comfort without awareness slowly becomes a prison. This is why waiting for disaster to force growth is a dangerous strategy. A wise person learns to create urgency before life creates suffering. They act before the crisis arrives. They train themselves to respect time even when life feels easy. They understand that discipline is artificial urgency created by wisdom instead of pain. The secret is not becoming addicted to struggle. The secret is remembering what struggle revealed about your true potential. Because once a person sees what they are capable of under pressure, they can never honestly claim weakness again. The most powerful lesson hidden inside rock bottom is not about suffering itself, but about the awakening that suffering creates. Human beings are capable of extraordinary focus when they stop believing they have endless time. The challenge is learning how to access that level of urgency without waiting for disaster to force it into existence. This is where true transformation begins. A person does not need financial collapse, heartbreak, or failure to activate discipline. They need clarity. They need to emotionally understand that every delayed action is quietly shaping their future. Every ignored opportunity, every postponed dream, and every wasted morning slowly becomes part of the life they will eventually live. Most procrastination survives because consequences feel invisible in the present moment. A person skips one workout and nothing terrible happens today. They waste 1 hour scrolling through distractions, and the world does not collapse tonight. But years later, those small delays compound into regret, weakness, and lost potential. Dr. Grandpa Henry believed that wise people learn to visualize the future consequences of present habits so clearly that urgency becomes natural. They stop seeing time as unlimited. They begin treating each day as something alive, fragile, and valuable. This mindset changes everything because urgency created through awareness is far more sustainable than urgency created through panic. The person who waits for crisis is always reacting. The person who creates internal urgency becomes proactive. They build routines before motivation arrives. They take action while others are still overthinking. They move because they understand that hesitation has already stolen enough from their lives. One of the strongest ways to recreate urgency without crisis is to place yourself in environments where growth becomes necessary. Human beings adapt to expectations. When surrounded by comfort, people become comfortable. When surrounded by disciplined individuals, higher standards begin to feel normal. Another strategy is learning to shorten the emotional distance between actions and consequences. Instead of imagining success someday, imagine who you become every single day you refuse to act. Feel the cost of delay now instead of later. This creates productive tension inside the mind. Suddenly, procrastination no longer feels harmless. It feels expensive. The truth is that every person watching this has already survived difficult moments they once believed would break them. They have already demonstrated resilience, endurance, and strength. The problem is not lack of capability. The problem is forgetfulness. People forget their own power the moment life becomes comfortable again. They shrink back into smaller habits, smaller thinking, and smaller effort, but deep inside them still exists the version forged through pressure, the version capable of focus and courage when survival demanded it. The goal is to wake that version up before pain becomes necessary again. Because the people who master their lives are not always the strongest or smartest. They are the ones who learn how to act with urgency before consequences force them to change. If you are benefiting from our topics, please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell notification so you can see our new videos early. Most people believe procrastination is a laziness problem, but that belief has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. The truth is far more uncomfortable because procrastination is usually the result of comfort, safety, and the dangerous illusion that there will always be another tomorrow. Human beings delay action when the consequences of waiting appear small. A person can ignore the gym for one day, ignore the business idea for 1 month, or ignore the warning signs in a relationship for 1 year because the pain of inaction feels distant. But something terrifying happens when life pushes a person to rock bottom. Suddenly the delay disappears. Suddenly, the excuses lose their power. Suddenly, action becomes immediate. A man who spends years procrastinating on his health will change overnight after hearing frightening words from a doctor. A person who endlessly delays building a future suddenly works day and night after losing everything financially. Rock bottom changes human behavior because survival removes hesitation. The mind becomes clear when comfort disappears. That is why Dr. Grandpa Henry often described pain as the great awakener of human potential. He understood that most people are not transformed by motivation alone. They are transformed when life corners them so tightly that movement becomes the only option left. In those moments, the human brain stops negotiating with fear and starts focusing on survival. Every distraction becomes meaningless. Every excuse sounds childish. Every wasted hour suddenly feels expensive. The tragedy is not that people fail at rock bottom. The tragedy is that many people wait for rock bottom before finally respecting the value of time. Deep inside every human being is a hidden emergency version of themselves, a version capable of discipline, courage, focus, and relentless action. But comfort keeps that version asleep. Modern life makes procrastination easy because people are surrounded by entertainment, convenience, and endless distractions designed to numb urgency. The average person delays change because they believe there is still time left to waste. But when survival enters the room, procrastination leaves through the back door. Imagine someone trapped inside a burning house. That person does not sit down to overthink possibilities. They do not wait for perfect timing. They move instantly because urgency destroys hesitation. The human mind was built to respond to pressure, danger, and necessity. The problem is not that people are incapable of action. The problem is that they rarely create enough urgency to awaken their deepest strength. Rock bottom forces people to see reality without filters, and reality is often the greatest motivator of all.